Hi, this is John Callahan. I'm here today with Blaise Titus, the owner and founder of Hillcrest Memorial Center in Kennewick and Hillcrest Bruce Lee in Pasco. And Blaise is involved in a lot of public presentations on topics related to funeral homes and funerals and everything related to that. And what I'm doing today is interviewing him with some questions that are the things that he's asked all the time and are just things that we think the general public would like to know about. So, Blaise, are you on the line?
I'm on the line.
So first, tell me about how Social Security and veterans benefits factor into the whole death situation. What do people need to be aware of there?
Oftentimes people ask about Social Security. They come into the funeral home thinking that Social Security is going to play a big role in helping pay for the funeral service. What they soon learn is that Social Security has no money available for funerals. Before the 1980s, there was money for each individual that worked. There's $255. So it used to be that everyone that worked would receive $255 toward their funeral services. The funeral home would apply for this money, and the money would be paid directly to the funeral home.
So the family didn't need to do anything in that situation?
The family didn't need to do anything.
Okay.
In the early 1980s, they switched it, and now there's a one-time death benefit that goes to the surviving spouse or dependent children under 18 still living at home. The money is still available, but it only goes to the surviving spouse, so it's only a one-time benefit for the family instead of for each individual that worked. The amount has stayed the same the whole time. It's only one amount now instead of for each couple. And it no longer goes to the funeral home, it goes straight to the family.
Okay.
The family has to apply for it afterwards. And so the money is not really accessible for the funeral service to be used at the time of death.
Okay.
So oftentimes families think that they're depending on money being available from Social Security to help pay for the services. Oftentimes they even think that it will cover the full amount, and it's just not true.
How about veterans benefits? How does that work?
So by serving our country, the veterans have a great benefit that they could be buried at any national cemetery at no cost. So there are two cemeteries in the state of Washington. One cemetery is the Tahoma National Cemetery. It's in Kent, Washington. At the Tahoma National Cemetery, everything is no cost for the veteran and for the spouse. So the opening and closing of the space, so first of all, the space is free, the opening and closing is free, the outer burial container is free, and the headstone is free. So there's no cost for the veteran. And the spouse, all of it is the same. So there's no cost for the spouse. So the veteran and the spouse can both be buried at the National Cemetery at no cost.
Okay.
Oftentimes they will put the spouse's information on the same headstone. And so there's one headstone, but both of them can be buried at the same place. There's a second cemetery in the state of Washington. It's called a Veterans Cemetery. It's a little bit different. The difference is the veteran, there is no cost. So the space of ground is no cost. The opening and closing is no cost. The outer burial container is no cost. The headstone is no cost. If you choose to be cremated, all of it is no cost also. The spouse, there's a $300 fee that is to take care of the cost for the spouse. But still, $300 is incredibly low cost for all of that to be free.
Right. Okay. That sounds pretty good.
Oftentimes, veterans believe that the veterans were going to take care of everything. If the death occurs at a veterans hospital, the veterans will take care of transportation from the veterans hospital to the cemetery. And so that is a big cost, but they don't take care of the funeral service. So if you're going to have a funeral service locally here, or transportation from the casket is not included, the funeral service is not included, the transportation from here to the cemetery is not included unless you die at a veterans hospital. So oftentimes families think that everything is taken care of, but that's really not the case. just the cemetery.
Okay.
If you're buried at a local cemetery, so let's say, so the plus about being buried at the national cemeteries, there's no cost. The cemeteries are immaculate. They're very well taken care of. So if you choose the national cemetery, that's a great benefit. But if you want to be buried locally, oftentimes at the local cemeteries, they'll give you the space of ground at no cost. But you have to pay for the opening and closing. You have to pay for the outer burial container. You have to pay for the setting fee at the headstone. The headstone itself is free, but the setting fee there's a cost. And for your wife to be buried at the same cemetery, there's no benefit, no discounts for the wife. Although you could have, if you choose a granite marker, you could leave space at the bottom to have her name and date of birth and date of death engraved afterwards. Or if the death occurs and like they're cremated, they can hold off on having the marker set until the wife passes away, and then all of it could be put on there at no cost from the veteran.
Oh, okay. Is it very common that people rely on Social Security and veterans benefits? Is this something that happens a lot in your business there?
In the past, it's been a huge benefit, and people have depended on that, and so they believe that it's going to be there. They believe that it's going to, so whenever the death occurs, they're counting on it to be there. If the person dies due to service-related disability, so if something happened in the service, there is more of a benefit available.
Okay.
Now, and so whether they're buried at a local cemetery or the national cemetery, there's a $300 to $600 dollar benefit.
Okay.
Now, we cannot get that money until afterwards. So we apply for each veteran because we don't know from veteran to veteran if they're going to qualify. And so they get a letter and we get a letter saying they're going to receive the benefit or that they're not going to receive the benefit. So it's very upfront that they're going to tell you whether they do or do not receive the benefit. And then a few weeks later we get the payment. If the expense has already been paid, it's to reimburse the family. If it's not been paid, then it goes to the funeral home.